And we're going on live right now a little early because a news conference has just begun after an Army Black Hawk helicopter crashed and collided with an American regional jet just before 7 o'clock our time.
And we want to get to that press conference right now. We know at least 300 responders are at the scene. This is an all-hands-on-deck effort. Let's listen in.
We received an alert from the FAA tower of an aircraft incident involving a commercial aircraft and a helicopter. Our units immediately responded and deployed 3 boats and immediately called for mutual aid resources. Again, as Chief Donnelly said, it's an active operation that's going to last many hours as we continue to work through recovery efforts and rescue operations. This will be ongoing for quite a while. Our thoughts and prayers are with the families and our communities, and we appreciate all DC's support to our agency and our federal partners.
So with that, I wanted to turn to the senators who are from Kansas who wanted to say a few words. First, Senator Moran, and then Senator Marshall.
Mayor, thank you, and Mr. Secretary, thank you, and to our first responders, thank you very much for all that's taking place here. I'm Jerry Moran. I'm a United States Senator from Kansas, and I chair the subcommittee and Commerce Committee on Aviation. So we have really a serious and sad circumstance that we want to be here to be helpful, and we're praying that our responders are safe and the folks who are on that flight are recovered. The circumstance I would describe is that I know that flight. I've flown it many times myself. I lobbied American Airlines to begin having a direct nonstop flight service to DCA. That flight has been in existence about a year. And it is certainly true that in Kansas and in Wichita in particular, we're going to know people who are on this flight, know their family members, know somebody. So this is a very personal circumstance as well as an official response. And again, we will do everything we can to make certain that we're supportive of the rescue efforts, and we'll do everything we can to make certain that our subcommittee and Congress is engaged in what needs to take place following the outcome of this evening and this month's kind of investigation. I've talked to NTSB, I've talked to the White House, I've talked to the Department of Defense, and I've talked to the CEO of American Airlines. And there is all of us pulling together for the best outcome possible. I'm honored to be here with my colleague, Senator Marshall, as we try to make certain that we care for those certainly back in Kansas that were on that flight. But it's a reminder that there are people here in Washington, D.C., in this region, in Virginia and Maryland, and many places else that fly to and from Kansas. And so we're rooting and supporting all those, regardless of where you're from. And Mayor, I appreciate the gathering here for us to try to provide information to those in Kansas and across your city. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, thank you, Senator Moran and Mayor, Secretary. You know, when one person dies, it's a tragedy, but when many, many, many people die, it's an unbearable sorrow. It's a heartbreak beyond measure. And I know Senator Moran and I are here just to say we care. We wish that there was more we could do, but unfortunately there doesn't seem much at this time. I want the folks to back home to just know that we care, that we love them, and that this is a time when we'll have to join arms together and help each other out. We've been through things like this before, through tornadoes and floods and things, but it's really hard when you lose, you know, probably over 60 Kansans simultaneously. And I don't want to forget the pilots and the flight attendants, you know, are do their job, and the military personnel we lost. You know, all those lives are so valuable, and it is such a tragedy that we lost them. You know, I think often in times like this, I try to find a scripture that, you know, is apropos, and this is from the book of Psalms. It says, "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit." Certainly we're crushed in spirit tonight. We mourn with the families who lost loved ones, and and we truly are joining them in prayer and wrapping our arms around them in love and compassion. Thanks for everybody for coming out tonight, and thank you for your thoughts and your prayers.
So certainly I speak for the people of Washington, 700,000 of us who are extremely sorry for the families who are experiencing loss tonight. And so we want you to know that we will continue to work with American Airlines to share information as frequently as possible and make sure that we're getting accurate information out to the public. But my sorrow for all of the people and crew on the plane and our military personnel on the helicopter is very deep. I do want to turn to Jack Potter, who is the CEO of our Airports Authority, responsible for Reagan National Airport and Dulles International Airport, to talk to you about how the airport responded and what's going to happen next.
Good evening. As was said, I'm Jack Potter, President and CEO of the Metropolitan Washington Airports Authority. Thank you all for being here tonight and under these very, very grim circumstances. First of all, I want to let you know that we're providing support to all the families who are involved. American Airlines has established a phone number for them to reach out. That's been published, but let me repeat it. It's 1-800-679-8215. So families of folks that were on the plane are asked to contact them. We did have folks who were at the airport to pick up loved ones, and so American has set up a center in their in their lounge at the north end of the airport, and we've directed the families there, and there are folks there counselors there to work with the families. We did have aircraft that were in the air. They were diverted to Dulles Airport, some 19 aircraft. We had personnel, United and others had personnel. We want to thank WMATA for extending their hours on the Metro to make sure that those folks were accommodated. Right now, as was said earlier by the chief, we're in a rescue mode. We will continue in that rescue mode. I want to thank all of the mutual aid responders, all the counties, the district, folks from Maryland and Virginia. Everybody's on site doing the best they can, and numerous boats out in the water right now. NTSB is on site. I want to thank all of the folks behind me, the secretary, the mayor, the two senators for all of their support, and we're going to continue to work through the night. I do want to make an announcement. People are, concerned about what's going to happen in the morning. Reagan National Airport will be closed until 11 o'clock. That's when the first flights will take off. But we're going to continue to do our best and work through this situation over the course of the night, and we hope to have more news as it develops. But for right now, it's a very difficult situation out there with the cold. It's very dark, but there are numerous boats out there. There are dive teams out there. So again, we'll continue to work this situation, and I'll turn it back to the mayor. Thank you very much.
Thanks for that update. And you've heard that in the National Capital Region, the district, of course, is Washington, D.C. is at the center, but we are a close region. We have heard from the governors of Maryland and Virginia, the mayor of the city of Baltimore, all who have sent us personnel to help in the rescue operations. Last thing I'll note is just to our local viewership, and just please let our first responders do their work. Try to let our vehicles get to scenes and through scenes. We don't want anybody else to get hurt because of moving vehicles, okay? So we will be able to take a few questions. There's not a lot that we can say. We won't be able to say anything about an investigation. As you know, once fire and EMS completes the rescue operation, then the investigation goes over to the National Transportation Safety Board. And I'm sure the Safety Board, NTSB, will provide information about when they will be briefing about an investigation. So we'll take a few. Yes?
Can you confirm that both aircraft are in the water, and perhaps Chief Donnelly can explain what's involved in conducting an operation like this in these conditions?
Yes, both aircraft are in the water. The focus now is rescuing people, and that's what all of our personnel are focused on. And Chief, I think he's given a pretty good description, but if there's anything else you want to add, Chief?
I would just say that the boats are out doing searches. We have divers on both aircraft, and they're searching the aircraft at this point.
Right. Yes.
Have any survivors been found, and how many bodies have been recovered?
All we can confirm tonight is the number of people on each aircraft, 64 people on the American Airlines plane and 3 people on the military helicopter. And we can't provide any more information about recovery efforts.
2 people have talked about lost loved ones. So how do you know that there might be people who have lost loved ones?
I didn't say I didn't know people had lost loved ones. I said we can't talk about any of the recovery efforts in specific tonight. Yes.
Secretary Duffy,
So I'll call on who's next. Yes?
thank you, Mayor Bowser. Will this affect operations at Dulles and BWI? Will the Potomac River traffic be closed to boats?
Yes. And so Jack has talked about, Jack, can you talk about Dulles? I'm not sure we can talk about BWI, but we can talk about Dulles.
Right. There is no impact at BWI or at Dulles. As I said earlier, our airport here, Ronald Reagan National Airport, will be closed until 11 o'clock. Obviously, that will be fluid. We'll learn more, but we wanted to advise passengers who might be coming to the airport in the morning that we will be closed until at least 11 o'clock.
A question for Secretary Duffy. A question for Secretary Duffy.
So if you're just joining us right now, we are just wrapping up listening in on this news conference out of Washington, D.C. tonight. Of course, we know that an American Airlines flight with 64 people on board has collided with 3 people on a military helicopter. This was an Army helicopter tonight in Washington, D.C. And both of those aircraft now in the Potomac River. As you can see, this rescue operation is now underway.
Yeah, this flight originated from Kansas and was scheduled to land just around 9 o'clock local time there at Reagan National. And we had on the scene of that news conference now both of the U.S. senators from the state of Kansas, one of them Senator Jerry Moran, saying, quote, "I know that flight. I've flown that flight many times myself. It's been in existence for about a year." And he concluded his remarks saying that we're going to know people on this flight. And then the other Senator Roger Marshall sending his condolences, saying we mourn with the families, also saying a Bible verse.
And we also want to mention this. Secretary of Transportation Sean Duffy, who was just sworn in today, just hours ago as the Secretary of Transportation by Vice President J.D. Vance, hours later at this news conference, obviously talking about the tragedy of what's going on here as the search for survivors continues. So again, 300 responders now at the scene. This is an all hands on deck effort. We're told that this is state and federal response, multi-state, multi-agency response here as this continues.
And when one of the reporters asked on the scene if they could provide any answers to recovering bodies or survivors, no one was able to say anything about that. So that is first and foremost on people's minds tonight. And those with loved ones who were on the flight are praying for their safety, praying for a miracle. A man waiting at the terminal for his wife who was on that plane says the last text he got from her was that they would be landing in 20 minutes.
I'm just praying that somebody's pulling her out of the river right now as we speak. That's all I can pray for. I'm just praying to God.
And we should mention this, planes were rerouted to Dulles Airport tonight following this collision. Also, we learned in this press conference that Reagan Airport will be closed. It is expected to reopen around 11 a.m. tomorrow. So some information there in terms of travel, potential travel impacts. We also heard in that news conference that the Potomac River will be closed as this investigation continues.
Well, tonight we're getting video of the collision, and just a heads up, the images may be disturbing to some people. So look in the kind of the middle of the screen there, the video, you see the lights from an American Airlines jet, and then you see a smaller light coming in from the left. That's the Black Hawk helicopter. And again, you can see that explosion there on the bottom. That's the large fireball. And there it is again. We kind of have it on a loop there. And then you see what appears to be parts of the aircrafts both falling from the sky. The airliner had 60 passengers and 4 crew members on board. There were 3 people on the Black Hawk helicopter, said to be on a training exercise. So far, no official word on the casualties. And we know tonight witnesses are starting to react to what they witnessed.
Right now, I'm just in awe. It's kind of crazy that we experienced what happened right there. It's unfortunate what happened, and I'm praying for everybody who was involved in it, and I'm sorry for everything that happened.
KCRA 3's Washington Bureau correspondent Jackie DeFusco is near the Potomac River where this collision happened. So, Jackie, I know you're there on the ground. What are you seeing from your point of view, and what have you learned tonight?
Yeah, Andrea Galston, as you just heard in that press conference, crews are in rescue mode right now after that aircraft collision near Reagan National Airport overnight. And we heard that there are 300 personnel on the scene assisting in this very active situation. Both aircrafts, authorities say, are in the water right now. Divers are on scene. Right now, I am at a rescue and recovery staging area. You may be able to see it behind me in the distance. We can obviously only get so close because the police line here, but there is a tent set up on a dock behind me. We actually just moments ago saw a helicopter land. That's the second one that we have seen just since I have been here this evening. And just a little bit earlier, we saw a boat pull up to that dock where dozens of first responders were waiting to receive whatever was on board. Again, there's still a lot we don't know about this situation, but we did learn a little bit more in that press conference and what we have learned throughout the night as well. So just to recap here, again, both of these aircrafts are in the Potomac River right now after this crash happened. The Federal Aviation Administration says that was around 9 p.m. this evening when that collision occurred near Reagan National Airport, which is just outside of Washington, D.C. And we are learning more about potentially the deaths that have occurred. There are no confirmed casualties, as you heard from authorities in that press conference, but our National Investigative Unit has learned from sources that at least 2 bodies have been recovered at this point. Again, this is a developing situation, and we're still waiting for public confirmation on that. We're also learning more about these aircrafts. American Airlines has now confirmed that one of their flights coming from Wichita, Kansas was involved, that 60 passengers and 4 crew members were on board, and that they collided with that military helicopter. The Army saying that came from Fort Belvoir, Virginia, and that it was a 3-soldier crew that was conducting a training flight on board. Obviously, that we are in the very early stages of an investigation at this point. We don't know at this point what the cause of this crash was, but we did also just learn from that press conference that Reagan National Airport is going to be closed to all flight traffic essentially until 11 a.m. at least in the morning. And so obviously major disruptions in the Washington, D.C. area, but right now everybody's focus is still in the water and on this rescue operation, hoping, of course, to be able to save some of these people who were on board both of those flights. We also are hearing from President Donald Trump, who said that he's been fully briefed on this terrible accident. May God bless their souls, he said. And of course, the administration, in some cases, just days on the job at this point. In the case of the new transportation secretary, is going to be providing more information as it becomes available. But for now, I'll send it back to you guys.
Jackie DeFusco live in Washington, D.C. Thank you so much for the update. And we want to show you this. This is video as emergency crews responded to the scene. There was a massive response shortly after the crash with search crews in the air and in the water. There are also reports of civilian watercraft assisting in this search effort. The water in the Potomac is very cold right now, of course, adding to this urgent search and rescue operation.
Yeah, it's like 37 degrees, and the unfortunate part of this story is that survivability maybe goes out to around an hour, so we're way past that. And of course, this rescue operation could turn into more of just a full-scale recovery operation very soon. California Congressman Eric Swalwell says that he had landed at Reagan Airport just minutes before the crash.
He spoke tonight about what he saw.
I didn't see or hear it at first, and so, my thoughts are with those on board and their families, and hoping that the police and fire are successful. But, many of us who, commute to the D.C. area, we know that flight path. It's so rote, and you take it for granted, and you don't really look around as you're on approach. But yes, there are so many aircraft in the area every single day.
Stay with KCRA 3 for the latest on this developing story. We'll have updates here on air and on our KCRA 3 app.